We learnt to sew and knit and even crochet from a very early age. That was the way things were then. I was already sewing, doing things, and it was the next door neighbours who gave me this for a Christmas present, 1933. Ah yes, because during the war, clothes rationing started in 1941 and went right through until after the war was over. And so then people wanted to make things if they could, and of course I could already make things. So it was being used not just for mending, but for actually making things. We could queue up sometimes and get parachute silk from torn parachutes that had to be discarded. And of course that wasn't rationed. So you'd hear that a certain shop had got some parachutes in, and you went and queued up. You queued for everything, and you could buy some. So that was used for making underclothes, petticoats, etc., and also blouses.
In the mother box, there's a sailor's palm, and that's the needle that I'd use as a sailor's palm for doing heavy-duty stuff, like sails or rucksacks. We did actually mend a sail in the middle of the Atlantic once with that sail palm and a sewing machine.
Hilary, tell me about your sewing box.
Well, it isn't really a sewing box. It's a wee brown leather case that was owned originally by a vicar of ours. It was the box he used to take communion to home visits, and he'd bought a new one, or had been given a new one actually. At the time, my daughter was a mad keen Paddington Bear fan, and his wife thought that Joe, aged about 2, would love this case because it's just about 2-year-old size. And strangely enough, there's a tiny piece of lace which in itself has a piece of history, because when my grandmother died when I was a very little girl back in about 1945, the only thing that came from my grandmother's house for me was a piece of lace and a piece of ribbon, which I've also got tucked in here. It came in an envelope that just said on the outside of it, "For the little maid who was me."